I saw that no one was really hyper focused on what I call sort of the unsexy part on the front end of the process. I say that because it may be simply that you're missing calls. There's not a good integration between your phone system and your CRM, Litify in your case. You're not able to capture the right type of data at the outset. And we all know that, you need good data to perform good tasks. And AI is only going to be as good as what you're capturing within it and the way you're asking the right types of questions. And so having that good baseline of good data is important. So that sort of blocking and tackling, very simple stuff at the front end of the process, where a call gets routed properly. It has the intelligence to know that if this person is not available, we go to this person. And if that person's not available, we go back to reception. And maybe instead of leaving a voicemail, you speak to an AI agent that'll just take some very basic information. So that way, that the call needs to be followed up on quickly and what the topic was and quick AI summary around it. Just these sound like very simple use cases, but many firms, are struggling with that.
Welcome to Harry Handles It, a podcast where we dive into the world of personal growth, success strategies, and everything in between. I'm your host, Terry Dohrmann, and today we're going to chat with an incredible guest who has some amazing insights to share. Remember, no matter what life throws your way, I'm here to help you handle it. So let's get started. Welcome to the Harry Handles It podcast. Today we've got the awesome Terry Dohrmann on, who is a legal tech entrepreneur, co-founder of Lexafide, and previous co-founder of Litify. Welcome, Terry. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Harry. Appreciate you having me on.
Of course. We also have special guest today, Serje Havandjian, on with us. And I know you two have had a closer working relationship, getting some of our stuff launched and working together in the past. So I'm excited to hear all about that.
Great to see you again.
I'm excited to talk about it. Yeah, thanks, Serge.
Did you guys just see each other 20 minutes ago?
We've been seeing a lot of each other the last couple of months.
Before we get into that, Terry, give us a little bit of a background about you, kind of how you became a household name in the legal tech industry.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's probably maybe a bit of a stretch of a household name, but I'll take that accolade. I appreciate it, Harry. So yeah, we been very fortunate to partner up with some amazing people and build some technology businesses that have helped the legal community. And maybe just going back a bit, technology, sales, and building businesses for a long time. And I was at Salesforce, which people obviously know, for about 6.5 years. And my time there, I was trying to figure out how to bring that type of platform approach into legal. I had sold into the legal community prior in my career, back when things were going from tape saved, data to cloud-based saves. So, that whole transition from people would dump their tapes every day and get picked up and bring to Iron Mountain or whatever. But I sold to the legal community back then for a company called eVault, if anybody remembers that one. But in any event, it went from there to Salesforce. And in my head, the whole time I was at Salesforce, I was thinking there's a way we can bring this technology and into legal. And I tried to do it a few times. It didn't really work. And that changed when I got a call from the folks from Morgan & Morgan, which everybody knows in the country as one of the largest plaintiff-based firms. And they were curious about exploring Salesforce and what it could do for law firms. And so I left my job at Salesforce, which was a very much up and to the right business and doing phenomenally well. My wife thought I was crazy. We had some very heated discussions around that topic, but I saw a vision where we could, again, bring this technology into legal. So I went to Morgan & Morgan and we started building out the product, which we spun out and eventually became Litify. And Litify was effectively Salesforce for lawyers. So instead of doing opportunity management or marketing management, it was case management. So managing everything from intakes to documents to the cases themselves, and having a CRM, or sort of a source of truth, as a database to use. Was very fortunate to build that business from zero to, when I left, it was just about a $50 million business. Lots of twists and turns in there, and a lot of moments of head scratching and doubt, but we were able to really build something that folks used, including yourself. So thank you to you and your firm for adopting that technology. Left there, we got a majority buyout from Bessemer Venture, which is a venture capital firm, and stepped away from the industry for a little while. And I joke that it's kind of like the mafia. It pulls you back in because it's a very unique skill set, I think, or at least a unique understanding of this marketplace, legal in general, and specifically in the plaintiff space. But I saw an opportunity with the advent of AI and it really being utilized to empower firms like yourselves and your peers. And so I met with I was looking for some good technology partners to bring to bear. Met with a good team of engineering resources, and we conceived of the idea of Lexafide. And Lexafide is basically an AI powered intakes platform. For now, we're going to go beyond intakes, which we can talk about, but saw an opportunity to leverage this new technology and really have it empower teams to be 4 or 5 times more productive in what they're doing every day. And again, specifically for intakes for now, but really giving that the ability to understand what's happening in the firm, make good decisions, go faster, be more productive, and leverage it in the right way. So that's brought me to where I am today. And we just launched Lexafide, and where we have a handful of clients that are using the product, including yourselves. You guys are good, progressive, tech forward, front foot forward kind of firm that thinks like we do. And so far, the partnership has been great, and we're really starting to build a nice business here.
And it's an amazing story because I think we're kind of ground zero-ish on our implementation of at least Lexafide. And I think we just went live a couple hours ago. So that's kind of exciting.
Yeah,
so
the
you're on
timing
the
was
hot
pretty
seat,
crazy.
And one more thing I'm going to say, Terry, is I love that we're doing this, and I love that story with Litify. And I'm probably Salesforce's biggest fan when it comes to the legal space and what it's done for our firm and what it continues to do and what it will be able to do in the future. And I hope in like 5 to 10 years we can do another one of these podcasts and laugh about our kind of ground zero, this conversation about Lexafide and where it is in 5 to 10 years. I think it'd be fun to revisit this idea.
I think I agree. It's amazing to think back, even the early Litify days. We had a little more than a Salesforce instance and a dream. And we found good. And at that time, we found good partners like yourselves, just different firms at the time, but people who are willing to kind of jump in the trenches with us and figure out how exactly this should work. Like, what do the workflows look like? What are the important items? What are the key data points? So I'm not that bright, Harry. I'm just running the same playbook back with a new technology and a new group of partners. But yeah, no, I'd love to look back and say, hey, that was kind of cute what we were doing back then. But
that's the goal. So hopefully we can take that there, take it there together. But tell us a little bit about Lexafide, the vision for at least its current iteration of helping law firm intakes. I know when Serge joined us, we, like every other law firm, has a continuous intake improvement problem. It's just the nature of the beast. As you grow, it gets bigger. So there's the team, so there's the complexity, so there's the processes and all of that. And so really the biggest metric we were trying to bring down with our intake team was missed calls. And so we had different systems for that. But we knew AI, and specifically this voice over AI, this new technology that we have, would be the forefront of that pain point, or to solution that pain point. So tell us a little bit about how that project started.
Yeah. It's when looking at the areas that we could improve with the legal workflow. First of all, I looked at the competition. The business guy in me is going to stick his head up now, but I looked at what was really, because there's a lot of businesses that were flooding the marketplace, and many of them were focused on, letter drafting and term extraction and document review and medical record process and things like that. Again, all worthy projects to take on, and certainly providing value to firms. But I saw that no one was really hyper focused on what I call sort of the unsexy part on the front end of the process. And I say that because it may be simply that you're missing calls. There's not a good integration between your phone system and your CRM, Litify in your case. You're not able to capture the right type of data at the outset. And we all know that, you need good data to perform good tasks, and AI is only going to be as good as what you're capturing within it and the way you're asking the right types of questions. And, so having that good baseline of good data is important. So that that sort of blocking and tackling, very simple stuff at the front end of the process, where a call gets routed properly. It has the intelligence to know that if this person is not available, we go to this person. And if that person's not available, we go back to reception. And maybe instead of leaving a voicemail, you speak to an AI agent that'll just take some very basic information. So that way, that the call needs to be followed up on quickly, and what the topic was, and a quick AI summary around it. Just these sound like very simple use cases, but many firms, are struggling with that. And they spend a lot of money on procuring interested parties and leads. And to have just one go by is a travesty. So, for us, it was, let's build just a really, really, to start, let's build just a really, really solid product that eliminates the risk that's involved in all those things I just mentioned. So we really set out to, and we will, obviously, as we develop more product, we will do things like letter drafting and such. But, for us, we wanted to start right at the front and build just an amazing product that'll do all those things well, and deliver that type of value. And then we'll grow a nice business. And then from here, we'll iterate on other types of agents that we're going to build, other use cases that are important to you. And we're getting that feedback every day from our clients in terms of like what to build next and what to iterate on.
Yeah. And as a business operator and owner, how do you filter through that? Because, different clients have different needs and everybody wants something their own way. So how do you find the good idea between all that other stuff?
Yeah, it's a great question, Harry. We try to, and you're right, because in some way, well, I'll give you this might sound a little bit pejorative, but every law firm thinks they're a snowflake, and in some ways they are,
Hey.
but in many ways they are not. In many ways they are not. Their process might be slightly different than one another, but there's a lot of commonalities in what they're trying to solve for. So really, what our research, if you will, it was about going back to a lot of the contacts in my network and just asking them specifically around intakes, what are they looking to solve for, and what are the problems that they have? And when we heard the same answer consistently a few times, we would just start building the AI technology to address that. And so some of it was, it usually started a bit anecdotal, with someone be like, I don't want to lose any more leads, or I have a problem with my telephony integration. It would start with that, but then we would be pretty systematic about asking, 5, 10, 15, 20 firms about that. And then I would obviously do research on the back end through blogs and industry experts and things like that, and understand what is still kind of rearing its ugly head. And what consistently rose to the top when I was doing the intakes research was that idea around capturing all the information effectively, not letting things go by, not making customers wait for responses. And then even beyond that, from a voice communication perspective, keeping consistent touches with those clients. So, the other use cases, which we can certainly go into, but, people just want to have consistent communication with those clients and give them the ability to speak with people from their firm, or be updated on their case, or just very simple touches. I don't think anybody is necessarily ready to have robots handle their intakes from soup to nuts. You certainly want to keep that personal touch and have a human talk to a human when they've been injured, or having a problem like that in their life. But there was ways for AI to surface the right kind of information to make the process smoother. And again, kind of solve for that unsexy kind of monotonous tasks that frankly you have people doing now, that if they don't have to do those things, they can be more focused on the human element. They can be more focused on, kind of going faster and responding and providing a better level of service. So those themes consistently rose to the top, and we just picked the ones that were the most kind of painful, and just started developing on those.
Well, speaking about that human touch, where do you see the platform going, over the next 1, 3, 5 years? And what do you think the general public's appetite is to be communicating as potentially a first touch point with AI? Curious to know where your head's at on that front.
Yeah, I'll answer the second question first, Serge. I just think a lot of times, I think from a technology perspective, I think about it from my own experiences. And what I'm finding is that even I'm getting more used to speaking to AI agents and getting things done. Like when you talk to anybody from your phone carrier to whatever, cable carrier, to a hospital, to whomever, you're kind of getting used to that, either kind of working your way through an IVR format or talking to an AI agent to give, the initial feedback. Now, if you're in moments of frustration like myself, you go live agent, human, give me a human. And
That's my default.
Coincidentally,
Yeah.
that's why I call it the trap. I call it the trap door in Lexifide's platform, that if you hear that, we have to obviously route you to a live person. So just side note, we are solving for that. But I think people will get more used to, in their day-to-day lives, speaking with autonomous, AI agents and doing that. So the thought right now is to use it more in sort of edge cases, or cases where there's less risk, like you guys are. And then I think as we sort of evolve, really as a society, and becoming more comfortable with this type of technology, I think it'll be used more and more. So we're going to follow that track, really, as a provider, and whatever that appetite looks like, we're going to build product that'll help. And then in terms of the Lexify platform and where I see it going, there's kind of two ways to think about it. One is, we're going to go further down the case lifecycle. We're going to obviously provide more. We already are. We already have people that are using for when it converts from an intake to an actual matter, to an actual case. We have some folks that are doing outbound touches and querying that data that's in there to handle the matters better. So it's already naturally happening. But we'll start doing more of building more AI agents to do things like that, to do record review and document management and term extraction and case guidance, and valuation is the next big agent we're building now. Literally right now, we're building taking a snapshot of all the information on a case and understanding its worth. So therefore, you can everything from just accept it as a client, or pursued as a client, to it needs to get escalated right away because it's a catastrophic injury and needs to be handled by such and such a person with such and such urgency. So that is what we're working on right now. So I think these use cases are the tactical way we're thinking about it. More strategically is, we're going to move beyond this particular marketplace and expand into other areas. And typically what that means is the higher volume based legal segments. So everything from bankruptcy, maybe, to wills and estates, to things where there's a lot of data and a lot of tasks that are really required to manage it. So we'll be moving beyond into different marketplaces as the business grows and we start building more product.
You mentioned the point about getting more used to talking to robots and that kind of stuff. And I really haven't had much AI interaction with other vendors other than Lexafide. And so my opinion on it, it's a little different. But Serge, how is your getting this spun up live? How has your perception or relationship with the robots and their voice and the way they respond to you changed?
Yeah, there's always a balance that we need to strike between what we can offload to an agent, to an AI voice assistant, and what I'd want a human to sort of take over on. And so as we've been getting spun up on Lexafide, the agent itself has improved over time. I've noticed that the voice sounds better and better. There's more human touches to it. And it gives me confidence that we could actually hit that sort of balance where if a caller is more willing to test out or work with an AI voice assistant, that it could actually pick up on the information that we need. And in those instances where they're not so interested, we can default to a human. But as far as my personal experience goes, I've warmed up more and more to it the more the more I've actually interacted with the voice agent. So even my tolerance, which I would say is a pretty conservative one, I'm definitely a default to human, press 0 on the phone until someone from Chase answers me. Even my tolerance has increased. So it does give me confidence that we're on the right track, that the technology as it is today is in a good place, and that it's going to continue to improve.
Yeah. And
what I would add to that, Harry, just quick little post note on that is that, and I've been in this game for 20 plus years. I haven't seen a technology, and I'm not going out on a limb by saying this. You're hearing this all over the place, how AI is going to really impact everything. And it's true from my perspective, because I've never seen a technology that improves upon itself so quickly. Like, the agents literally learn from you and from the team and from, it's doing a lot of pattern recognition. It's doing a lot of okay, this created a better outcome when it was handled this way. So Serge and I have been on calls where we're literally going through, does it sound more natural to say versus does it sound more like oh, thank you, I'm checking, because there is going to be times where the data has to you have to actually refer to a different data system and come back. So you're doing the sync. So there might be doesn't sound like a lot, but there might be like a half a second pause. And during that half a second pause, if it's silence, it's really awkward, because you're as a user, you're like, do I speak? What do I do? And it sounds awkward. But we've actually iterated on the agents themselves to the point that it'll just say, okay, hold a second, just almost like natural language that you would use in a conversation if you were literally looking at a book and checking something. So it's that type of thing that's happening literally every day that's making the experience better and better.
Well, but that begs a second sort of point, in that, especially in the intakes context, the landscape is so competitive, especially here in Los Angeles, that we run the risk of losing a potential lead because they're now dealing with an AI system. And so having that fallback or the option to sort of escalate to a human, or making that clear up front, might be key to the operation as well, because it's so easy to go over to the next firm for whatever it is you need,
And that was my big fear when we started this, is how can I make sure that if somebody wants to speak to a human, they have the ability to, no matter what, because you may be having a day, and when you pick up the phone and you need to talk to your lawyer, you need to talk to a lawyer, not somebody who's a barrier between you and your lawyer. That's how you get subbed up pretty quickly. And knowing that this exists on the tool is really nice, because it gives our clients the opportunity to choose how they want to be communicated with, which is also kind of nice. You're not forcing them down one rabbit hole or the other.
Yeah. And particularly at intakes, God forbid you're involved in a car accident, and you give us a call, what's that experience going to look like? It's got to be so dialed in, and because otherwise you can drop off.
100%.
Yeah.
With Lexafide,
I was gonna add something, but all I was doing was reiterating what you guys just said. So no, I 100% agree.
It's very important to keep them happy. That's the bottom line.
Agreed. 100%. Yep.
What else I find that's pretty special about Lexafide is the ability to choose how your AI agent gets deployed. So there isn't, it seems like to me, a one size fits all application for this platform. And the way we've been implementing it is in segments, to be able to monitor the efficacy, the client responses. And today's day one, I think 3 hours in. So I guess we'll see when we have some more test data. But I am hopeful, and I love that it is deployable to certain arms of the firm. Terry, was that by design, by accident? How did that happen?
Yeah, that's absolutely by design. And we, you guys are technically what we call a design partner. And design partners are the first half a dozen clients that we have that are literally giving us that feedback every single day with what's working, what's not, what needs to be tweaked, what needs to be changed. Now, ultimately, we want to get to a point where we can deploy our packages, and it's not going to be a completely custom build for each individual client. That is our objective from a business perspective, just because we don't want to have a lot of professional services cost and time that's associated with each individual deployment. However, what's happening naturally is that all the variables and all the different use cases and the different ways it can be deployed are being sort of unearthed right now. So we'll know that, okay, this firm wants this done in a certain way. This other firm wants it done in another way. And yet this third firm wants it done in a completely new way that we haven't even addressed yet. And in those scenarios, because of the flexibility of the product and because of the way, frankly, the intelligence of the product itself, you can actually handle that as well. Requires a little bit more upfront, work to understand exactly what that workflow should look like, and getting some of your language, your process, just understanding a little bit better. Maybe there's a unique integration that needs to happen. But what we're doing is we're learning what I would say is sort of the 80% of what everybody sort of needs and should have in place. And then that 20%, to your point, is kind of by design. Like, let's figure out what maybe some of the nuances and what are some of the things that we need to put in there directly and intentionally. And it doesn't take a lot of time to do that because the foundation is actually there. Because the last thing anybody wants, and I'm sure you guys went through this with your with the case management implementation, it's just a lot. It takes a lot of time. It's a lot of effort. It's a huge transition for the business, not even from a technical perspective, from a behavioral perspective and training perspective. It takes a lot. So our whole concept was make it a tabletop experience, so it kind of sits on top of whatever's there already, and have that flexibility that you defined, Harry, to kind of work in a way that, from a deployment perspective, you can do it in steps. From a experiential perspective, you can do it in steps. So yeah, that's very much by design.
And Lexafide, I know we're talking about Litify Salesforce implementation, but is Lexafide limited at all in terms of the application for it to be a tabletop product, or does it have to be on Salesforce? Tell our viewers about the flexibility.
Yeah, no, with Litify / Salesforce is the first case management solution that we integrated with. Again, I went back to my roots and not only the customers that I know, but the technology that I know, the ecosystem that I know. So, from an engineering perspective, I have lots of resources there to assist us early on. But no, we're actually agnostic as it relates to, the case tools that we can integrate with. Not even case management, but telephony as well. Like, we've done work, with Dialpad and with Twilio and RingCentral and Zoom, and I'm forgetting a half a dozen others that we're doing right now. But it's really just a matter, and the same concept, by the way. Once you understand the fundamental, I call it the plumbing. Once you understand the fundamental plumbing, it's just getting an understanding of what maybe makes that telephony system a bit unique. And then I have the engineering team learn that in a day or two, and then we just add that to our list of different providers that we can integrate with. But it's really limitless. There's certain providers that have a little bit of a stiff arm, if you will, right now, up to some AI providers they don't necessarily, because they're just being protective of their systems. I understand that. I think they're in the wrong. I think in the long term, having a more of an open architecture is going to be beneficial, just because I don't see a scenario where AI providers can do absolutely everything for a law firm, really for any business. But we're talking about law firms right now. There's no way I could build AI agents to handle every single individual aspect of what you guys do every day. There's no way. So I'd way rather present it in a way where I'm going to play nice in the sandbox with other providers during that workflow, and provide a really good experience. And whatever, if you want to hand our sort of results, our data sets off to another provider, that's great. I'm happy for you to do it, because at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is trying to service your clients in the best possible way. So I think us as vendors, if we keep that in mind, then there's no way I'm going to start boxing out other people from working with me. I think it's kind of a silly approach, but it is happening. So, but not with us.
Awesome. And Serge, do you have any notes, takeaways on implementation, running this from an operations perspective? I mean, how easy is it for a firm to decide I want it, and then I want it turned on?
I think you have to have your processes, SOPs dialed in. I think you need to understand your pain points. I think you need to have a vision of what that solution can look like, so that you can take it to Terry and his team. You can go to Lexafide and say, here's a problem that I'm having. I love an AI agent to sort of solve that. But it definitely starts with having an understanding of a real understanding of your pain points, and being able to craft that solution yourself. You're going to be able to solve your problems. No one's going to be able to solve your problems as best as you can. But relying on partners like Lexafide and Terry to get you to that finish line, I think that's the approach that the most successful approach that you can take. Correct me if I'm wrong, Terry, because Lexafide is also going to need to step in and say, hey, what are your problems? And I'm sure you guys can do the discovery and kind of guide a client through that process. But without having an understanding, I'd imagine you guys would kind of also be, lost at sea.
You nailed it. I mean, it's we can ask questions and we can provide guidance, and we can certainly help, or share what we're seeing in terms of best practices and that kinds of thing. But the better you know your internal process and sort of where the sticking points are now, and really what you're trying to solve for, that makes our lives, both of our lives, way better. Because there's nothing worse than us trying to solution something that doesn't necessarily need to be solved for. Like if I come in and you were saying about missed calls, Harry, you don't want to, that was a big piece for you. And I come in and I'm really focused on outbound voice agents in some capacity. Like we're ships in the night, using your lost at sea analogy, Serge. Like we're both gonna be lost at sea. So having that proper amount of discovery and sort of collaboration initially, massively important. So I don't think we'll take on any clients if we don't understand, at least at a rudimentary level, what they're looking to solve for, what those processes look like today, and what is the ideal state for you for a firm.
And kind of outside this initial intake context or initial client retention area, what really drew me to the platform and the product was the ability to incorporate Lexafide into current workflows, whether it's Salesforce or something else. So if you have a workflow that certain things need to get done when an event triggers, well, you can just add, it seems like Lexafide onto that workflow for it to also make an outbound call, to collect information, to give information. So it's another way for law firms to provide that client service that people expect. I like to say the Domino's model. When you order a pizza, you want to know exactly where it's at every single moment. Personal injury cases, no, or employment case or workers' comp case, it's no different. People want to be informed, although it may not take 30 minutes, but they still want to know where it's at in the production line. And so I think Lexafide helps with that too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the way that I just define really what Lexafide is for some clients who are just getting to know us, I say, think of us as sort of an intelligence layer. We're not necessarily we don't need to displace other products that you have. There might naturally be, a situation where you don't need another product as much anymore because we're handling it. And what we're finding is, I'll give you one quick example on the telephony side. Because the AI abilities, things like transcriptions and AI summaries on calls and things like that, that come with, a Zoom or a dial pad or whatever, they're not great. If I can make that comment, they're not great. So what's naturally happening is we're becoming sort of the intelligence layer from a telephony standpoint. So we're displacing the need to use that from another provider. But it's not always the case. There's many products and tools out there right now that they do what they're supposed to do. And why would I mess with that? So it's more about me extracting the right kind of information from those different tools that are there, and utilizing them to provide to you as a user. You go into a prompt and you just say, help me understand this thing, boom. And it pulls it up, which is another great thing because the everything we're creating, where we have sort of this natural language use in mind, where it's not, you don't have to be a coder or have a computer science degree to be able to interact with the tools. You literally ask it a question. Like, I'm a dopey sales leader. I can go in there and ask a question to get what I need to get out of it very easily. And I have zero training as it relates to AI. So it's that kind of thing I think you're alluding to, Harry, where it's like, doesn't really matter what it is. You just need something that's going to help you surface the right kind of information so you can make the right decision quickly. And that's what we have as, our top of mind goal with everything we're building.
Yeah, that's very well put. Well, Terry, tell our viewers and listeners how they can find out more information about Lexafide, get in touch with you or the team so they can get a demo. How do they get more information about the product?
Yeah. We Lexafide.com, Lexafide.com is our website. You can go there. It gives a quick summary. There's some videos there. We're constantly posting on LinkedIn, and we're putting more information out there. We're trying to be, and I know it sounds cliche, but we're presenting ourselves as thought leaders in the industry. So we're constantly putting things on Lexafide. I'm Terry D, TerryD at Lexafide.com. If anybody wants to send me an email, I'm happy to engage and answer any questions they have, or show them a demo, or really whatever curiosity they might have. I can certainly help.
Well, awesome, Terry. Thank you for this conversation. Thank you for getting us involved with the design implementation. And any closing remarks, Serge?
No, it's for any of our listeners. It's a pleasure to work with Terry and the Lexafide team. They're great partners, and I'm excited to see where the product and the platform takes us.
Oh, shucks, Serge. You're making me seem so wonderful. No, and Harry and Serge, I really appreciate you having me on. This is great. I love talking about this stuff. You can tell I get fired up around it. And I really do think we're at the outset of what's going to be an amazing journey. And I appreciate you guys jumping on board with us. And yeah, I'm ready for the ride if you guys are.
Let's go.
We're riding. We're riding.
All right, Terry. Thanks a lot.
Thank you,
Terry.
We'll have you on the podcast again soon.
Thanks for joining us today on Harry Handles It. I hope you enjoyed our conversation and found some valuable takeaways. If you're facing challenges in your own life or business, remember that you're not alone. Together, we can handle anything that comes our way. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review if you like what you heard. Until next time, keep pushing forward and handling life with confidence.